Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 2012 season preview. I knew I was going to stop it. I just wanted to do that. All right, restart it. Welcome back, everybody. This is Pewter Power. I'm Mike Deem. He's Joe Bell. This is 2012, a brand new season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a brand new head coach, brand new shirts.
Brand new team.
Brand new team. Brand new team. Welcome, Joe Bell, Mike Deem. We are ready to go here. I am excited. I know you're excited, too.
So excited.
We're all excited, really. I mean,
we haven't lost a game yet in 2012. We did finish losing 10 games in a row.
Yes.
Ended up 4-12. We're going to get into that in our next segment about how last year went. Yep. I threw together some stats about us versus opponents. They're kind of ugly.
But, you can't go backwards on this. I think 2011, if we go backwards in 2012, you'll see basically the earth is going to end. I think that's what we're going to have to say. It's that the earth will have to end.
So clearly today, we're going to talk about, in the next segment, we're going to talk about what happened last year.
Yep.
The following segment, we're going to get into the new key players that have been brought in that are going to help the team this year, we hope, and the new coach. And in the final segment, we'll get into the first preseason game that will be tomorrow night at 7:30.
Against Miami.
Against the Miami Dolphins.
Yep, so
again with a brand new coach in Philbin from the Green Bay Packers. So interesting to start out the season with two first-time head coaches in the NFL.
Should be very interesting. We're going to have a great season. We're going to have a great season. Pewter Power, we're going to be here every Thursday night. And you can also watch a replay of it on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. But we're going to be here, and you can tune in. And Joe has all his insights. We'll go around the NFL, too, but we'll talk mostly Buccaneers football here. And we want to get in-depth on this. So we'll be right back. You got to stay tuned, because we're going to talk about it.
Don't go away. I'm going to talk about FanFest, too, because I went to FanFest last weekend. Kind of enjoyed that.
You're a fan?
I'm a fan.
You're a fan, and
I have to be a fan. We were 4-12, so you got to be a fan to be
happy.
And
we're coming back this year.
And we're still here.
That's right.
Don't go away. Come right back. Pewter Power, WYKE.
Welcome. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. Pewter Power. I'm Mike Deem. He's Joe Bell. We are ready to go talking about, now we're going to get into a little bit. We talked about Buccaneers. We're going to get into last year a little bit.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we have to, because everybody knows what the record was, okay?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the circumstances surrounding Raheem Morris, his organization, and what was going on in his tenure.
Well, you know, the year before, in 2010, he goes 10-6.
Right.
Everything looks great. His first year as a head coach, players still rolling in from the year before, as far as I'm concerned. He gets into his own first year, and now it's a little different. Now he becomes the friend of the team.
Yeah, there was no...
It was not Raheem Morris, it was what?
Ra.
And once I heard that from players as we were doing interviews, it was over.
Yeah.
Because right now you hear an interview, Coach Schiano says. That's what you hear them say. Yeah. Or Coach Schiano.
So the biggest difference we think is the discipline factor, and that's probably why Coach Schiano was hired. Yes. And that's why he was brought in to instill some different, some respect, I guess we're saying, for the game and for the players and for the coaches. Because I think Raheem Morris, although he was a great guy, I mean, honestly, I liked him. I liked who he was. I just didn't think he had the respect of the players, and especially the older players.
Yeah, I think he had their friendship, but he didn't have that respect to get them to the next level.
It's hard.
I really don't. I don't think it was.
It's hard to jump on somebody when you're a friend, and we know that from a business standpoint. It's a way to do it. You can't do that hardly when you're a friend. You can't tell them what's wrong because
I never have a problem telling you you're wrong.
I know
but that's different. I guess. All right, so we're going to get into last year a little bit about stats. Yeah. I think the stats show everything. Right. So I threw together a little sheet
from 2011.
From 2011, they're going to put that up for me. Look at this. This is us versus our opponents. We only had 277 first downs versus 356. That's a big difference. Mm-hmm. Offensive yards, 5,100 versus 6,300. That's not that far off. Here's where it starts to change. Rushing yards, 1,400 versus 2,500.
Big difference.
We could not stop the run last season. Teams are averaging over 200 yards a game against Tampa. Horrible against the run. Sacks, we only had 23, and we gave up 32. That was bad, too.
Key pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, he was hurt a lot. Look at touchdowns. This is the one, these last two. Touchdowns, we were 30 touchdowns compared to 61 against. Tampa was getting blown out on a regular basis every single game. By halftime, game was over. People were leaving the stadium. Also, turnover ratio, minus 16. That is horrible, unheard of, horrible. So that gives you a little bit of idea about stats.
So we're looking at it really coming back. You can see that the defensive end of the scope was really where Schiano's probably concentrating a little bit more. Even though we didn't score a lot of touchdowns, but we're always behind, so we're playing behind. So that's the difference, and that's what we're going to look at on the next segment.
Yeah, in the next segment, we talk about the new players. The majority of the new players are on defense, even though we did get some really good offensive players that I think are going to make a huge difference in how Tampa plays the game. Now, we were last year a try and run early, didn't run well, got behind, and threw the ball the whole game.
Now, granted, though, we had injury to LeGarrette Blount. Okay, we had Ernest Graham go down completely. He's out. We haven't even heard from him. So my biggest thing is that from a running game standpoint, we didn't have anything behind that. Lumpkins, Madhu. There's not a lot of brand
Once we
names
lost Ernest Graham, we were pretty well done with the running game because we had no backups.
Right.
And we're in the next segment, we'll get into Doug Martin and what he's going to bring to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this season, which I think is huge.
But I also come back to the discipline and the being accountable for what you're doing. And we saw that last year, Joe and I, in the locker room, in the media box, we're down in the press box talking to players. The biggest thing with us was that, the game that I saw Josh Freeman basically admonishing his lineman, and his lineman not even...
Didn't care. Yeah, you could tell they didn't
Now, it's the same guys this year, but there's a different mentality.
Different mentality, and then a couple more
key
players. One key player that's going to make a huge difference.
That's the one I want to
And a leader for the team that they didn't have, a Pro Bowl leader that they needed to go along with Donald Penn. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all happens. In the next segment, we'll talk a little bit about that.
But if you're a fan of the show, too, I want to make sure that you know, if you're a fan of the show, you saw that last year, Joe and I did say we didn't have any leadership from a standpoint of veterans that were kind of interspersed on that. Yeah. Now we have that, and that's what we're going to talk about. I know that you said that before last year.
Absolutely, because there's a huge one with Mark Barron and Rondé Barber. It's an incredible story. It's an interesting story, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about Mark Barron, the new safety, our first-round pick in the next segment, because it's interesting how he's taken him under his wing and some of these young players are taking to the veterans who are still there. So interesting changes you're going to see.
As you all know, I mean, you go into something that's brand new in these rookies, and they're not guided, and that's which they weren't. And Raheem Morris didn't have the experience either to guide them. And a young coaching staff, a young player, all the young players they had, and a young head coach doesn't equal success, and it didn't.
Right. We went to training camp last year.
Yeah.
And you haven't been this year yet, but I've been to some training camps. There is a total difference in how training camp's being run and how the speed of training camp, the speed of the drills, and the discipline when you're not doing the drills. And that's something that's huge.
And the hard-nosedness that is now coming out with Schiano versus Raheem Morris.
There are no games.
Exactly. And that's what I was saying. Last year, when we had training camp, Tropicana Stadium, in the air conditioning, everybody said, why are we doing that?
Yeah.
Let's be nice to the players. Shiano this year?
Well, and with the new collective bargaining agreement, practices are less than they were before and not as many practices with pads and physical practices. So when they do have them, he's being very physical with them.
Correct.
Very,
so
very physical.
His expectations are different than Raheem Morris, which you can see what the account was. Now, 2010, because of I think because of the schedule, we actually overachieved at that point. And like you said, with Raheem Morris just coming in, it was just kind of falling it in there. The true nature of the team came out in last year.
Yes. And the next couple weeks, we'll get over how we think this season's going to be. And we know it's going to be a hard season. Tampa's got a very difficult schedule, new players, new coaches. It's going to be rough. This is not going to be a season for the light at heart because they're not going to win every game. They're going to be in most of them. But, and that, we said this before. I said this last year. If you were just in every game, I'd be happy.
Out of it. That's right.
That's what got Raheem fired. You can't be down 41-3 in the third quarter. You just can't.
Yeah.
Everybody leaves, and then they don't want to come back.
The competition level was not there last year.
Right.
It will be this year.
There was nobody to bring in for the people who weren't performing.
There you go.
There are now. And we're going to get pretty heavy into that when we come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the new players and the new acquisitions that bring you the new day at Tampa Bay.
That's right.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
we'll
don't
talk
go
about,
away.
We're going to talk about that schedule, too, because it's really
it's
a
tough
nasty one. So be prepared. Your expectations need to be set right now.
Don't go away.
Welcome back, Pewter Power. Mike Deem, Joe Bell. We are ready to go. Now we're going to be, last time we were talking about 2011 season. We want to wipe that clean from the slate, and we want to start with brand new 2012 season. Greg Schiano, new head coach, and we got a bunch of key players.
We have a bunch.
They were, Mark Dominant was free agency.
They spent
crazy.
Over $100 million.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. We were all begging them to spend money.
We said that
Well,
last
they
year.
have definitely opened the pocketbook up and spent the money, starting quickly with Vincent Jackson at $55 million.
Wow.
And let's just go over these players real quick, and then we'll talk about
key acquisitions here.
Key players to come in. Vincent Jackson, wide receiver from San Diego. Huge pickup for Tampa. We now have a legitimate number one wide receiver.
Not only a huge pickup, huge man.
Huge man. $55 million. Cornerback Eric Wright from the Detroit Lions. Decent player. Not great, but good. So he'll be a good pickup for us. Offensive lineman Carl Nix. Huge. He is huge if you haven't got to see him yet. I mean, he's big.
Okay. You're talking about huge, big guy.
Huge size.
Okay, huge size.
And he got a lot of money, and he is an offensive lineman and a Pro Bowler for the last couple